Hello, everyone. I'm so happy that you are here. I apologize for the very late start, but as we know with technology, sometimes we have issues, and that's totally okay. Welcome to the Kadisha Blake-Huggins podcast, where we discuss ideas and not people, where we give you the tools to navigate millennial relationships, goal setting, aspirations, and money. Today we have a very special guest. And for my colleagues that are residing in the UK, I know I really appreciate you staying up to listen to this wonderful guest. I really do appreciate you staying up until 2 a.m. in the morning to listen to our special guest. But let us not waste any more time. Our special guest tonight is a product of the True Brand Jamaica. He is a businessman, educator, senator, and the opposition spokesperson on entertainment. He's often referred to as the voice of young Jamaicans. He is known for his revolutionary thoughts and leadership style, and he is a lobbyist for a group of people who are often underrepresented in Jamaica. Guys, let us welcome Damion Crawford. Oh, hold on. Technical thing there. Mr. Crawford, welcome. So happy to see
Hi,
you.
you hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
Oh, great. How are you? How are you?
I am fine. I'm fine. I'm so happy to see you. As I
Oh,
speak
thank
with
you.
my colleagues in the UK, they have been waiting up for you. 2
Oh,
a.m. here.
good morning. Good morning to the people
Good
in the
morning.
UK. How you doing?
Right, so let us
Love,
just
man, love.
jump into it. What does success mean for you? What is success for you?
Well, success is, in my opinion, the achievement of the goal that you have set. And so, therefore, for different people who have set different goals, success would be different things. But as has been highlighted by Maslow in his concept of goal setting theory, the final goal of self actualization, which is to make yourself a better self, is never fully attained. And
Right.
so there'll be multiple success as you set different goals. So if your goal is not as lofty as mine today, it don't mean your goal won't get to mine tomorrow, because you will continuously improve upon your goals until you self-actualize. So a simple thing is like when I was in high school, CXC was once my goal. That is a school leaving education thing. And
Right.
then became my goal. And then university graduation became my goal, and it continuously increased. So it is just an achievement of what you have set for yourself,
Right.
and acknowledgement within yourself that you have tried your best and have gone as far as your skills and talents allow. So that's successful.
All right. And thank you so much for responding to that. As it pertains to who Damian Crawford is, the man after the vision or the man in transition with the
Yeah,
vision.
yeah.
Who inspired you to become who you are today?
Oh, many people, different along the way. For example, I'm a teacher. I lecture at the University of the West Indies, and that was influenced by the teachers that I experienced, like Miss Jones, Miss Pottinger, and Miss Douglas. So
Yeah.
those influence how I teach, and Mr. Johnson, how I go about teaching. Um, sorry, politically, Michael Manley. Excuse me. So, politically, Michael Manley would have been my major political influence. And I really admire what Butch Stewart did in the line of business,
Right.
and how he continuously improved upon and expanding his brand. Many people would not remember that Sanders and Breezes were the two main hotels within Jamaica up to the 2000s. And when the Spanish hotels came, um, Mr. Stewart rebranded himself, improved upon his property, and maintained his position, his prime position. So that must be respected. So yeah, I've been influenced by many people, and of course my mom, my dad, my uncle, would have served as a great influence in my life. So those are the main influences.
Wonderful. So I always speak about running your own race, right? Not looking at what anyone else is doing, but focusing on your journey and your vision.
Yes.
What do you say to a young man, especially a young man who has not been given the best start? They were not given a proper education, they were not given the proper resources. What? How can that student or child still be successful, and how?
No, no, it makes it more difficult. You cannot deny that, but it doesn't make it impossible. You
Okay.
see, what we have to do is to know ourselves and by extension what it means. Because based on who you are, it means something. A cow in a lot of bush have a lot of food. A lion in a lot of bush only have a cover. It don't have a lot of food. And so therefore the lion must use that high bush, that grass, as just disguise to catch his food, while
Mhm.
the cow use it as direct food. The two of them must know who they are and what it means. If you have a unfortunate start or not an equal start, it means that you just have to put in more effort. It's like when I was going to school, for example, those who could go to extra classes never needed to study as long as those who couldn't. But if you never had an extra class and then never study long, you would definitely do less than the other person. And those who are not blessed with intellectual competence, because I really believe that intellectual competence is similar to sports competence. That is a talent, and some
Right.
people gonna have it more than others. Now, because I can't run at the Olympics, don't mean that I can't run, and because you don't learn like a genius, don't mean you can't learn. So therefore, what you have to analyze is if I am going to become any way competitive in track and field, I'd have to put in much more effort than those who are skilled and talented naturally in track and field. And if it is that I did not have a field or a gym, I will then have to now make sure that I put in different strategies of training than if I had a gym. So those who get the unfortunate start of not having the gold spoon or not having everything that they want are not incapable or impossible. I'll tell you a story. In ninth grade at KC, my mathematics average was 16%.
Go again. Go again. What
Yeah,
was
in
that?
ninth grade at KC, my mathematics average was 16%.
16%.
Yes, 1 6, less than
Wow.
20%.
Wow.
And then by the time fifth form, I was teaching my friends mathematics. But it took great effort, many nights waking up 2 a.m. and putting in the work because you see, there's an equation of life that many young people unfortunately have not been exposed to. If you do 10 years in school, you will enjoy 50 years after school. If you focus and put in the work and put in the effort, 10 years within school, you will be able to have great joy and fun for 50 years after school. So I studied hard between 16 and about 24. I've been having great fun between 24 and now I'm 40. So I've been having 16 years of fun and much more fun. I've been to Australia for 3 months and just vacationing. I've been to London for the Olympics. I watched Bolt run with my own eyes. I was there. I was present. I can't tell you a country that I've not been. I've been to Universal Studios for my birthday. So when we look back at what I sacrificed when my friends were playing football outside or when they were watching TV, or I'm like, wow, it was worth it because what me I do now for a longer period of time is 10 times more fun than what I would be doing if I couldn't afford this
Right.
now from the investment that I made.
So,
So to that extent, they just have to put that investment in.
yeah, so you're saying that sacrifice is a necessary
Yeah,
tool for success.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure if most of people watching are Jamaicans, but we have this saying that we learned when we were younger, when it said, "Heights of great men reached and kept."
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Never
old
forget
people don't
it.
really waste words. So they
Mm,
knew that some would reach but not keep. So that's why they say reached and kept. If kept wasn't important, they would have simply say heights of great men reached were
reached, and
not
that's
attained
it.
by sudden flight. But there
Mhm.
were some who reached and did not keep.
Right.
Some of those who took crime, some of those who took drugs, some of those who took scamming, some of those who took um, relationships as a means of earning, they might have reached. I've seen when I was growing up some girls who went into nice vehicles and had nice bags and had a little extra money. They reached but didn't keep. I've
That
seen some people who took up crime and get a lot of cash now and sell some drugs around the corner and get some money and have a car. They reached and didn't keep. Because when I was 18 and thing, I was jealous of some of those people.
right.
But now some of them dead, some of them in a prison, and some of them other people have taken over from them and they are now broke. So they didn't keep. I will get a raise of pay for the rest of my life because I am academically qualified. So almost every year I'm in a negotiation for an increase in salary. You understand? So I said to my Jamaicans, especially the boys out there, that I remember when Dodos reached and he didn't keep. Zeke's reached, didn't keep. Natty Morgan, Sandakan, Charge Pan. I mean, many of them reached and did not keep. And so, what you have to recognize is without sacrifice, there will be no success. So, what I experience now, even sometimes people say, yo, Damion talk good in a parliament. It take a night to prepare, a full night. So, sometimes when other people might not talk so good, they are sleeping when I'm trying upwards through the night. So,
Wow.
them have to know, so them have to put in the work, you know what I mean? But if you put in early work, you have greater joy after. And if you don't
That-
put in early work, you have greater sacrifice after. So the man will mix the cement on a construction site or carry the load on a construction site, he's getting less paid than the person pointing where we should bring it. Now, that no make sense to me, but if you check it out, the person that is pointing is an architect or a contractor. He prepared himself between 15 and 25.
Wow.
And then he now is enjoying the rest of his life between 25 and retirement, which is 65. So he spent 10 years between 15 and 25 preparing himself to point and tell you what to do between 25 and 65. And some of us out there are, I mean, gallivanting between 15 and 25, and then lifting these heavy loads between 25 and 65. So
But we
the
have to ask
mathematics.
ourselves, Damien, what is it that is in our culture, that is embedded in our socialization that allows us to think reaching is enough, but not
Yeah,
keeping it afterwards? What is it that is in our culture that motivates us in that direction?
a lack of exposure to the truth
Mm-hmm.
because many don't interact with other persons like myself. You understand? Because unfortunately, especially if you're from the inner city, those who make it disappear. So you don't really have that example. So when you're 16 and 14 and 11, you kind of believe that the only people who are wealthy are in sports, music, or crime.
Mm.
But you don't recognize that. I mean, as rich as Bolt is, him don't catch leeching yet. You understand? And there's like, I mean, when I lecture at the university in Jamaican dollars, I make $4 million a year, right? So I make like $400,000 a month. A man look and say, hey, 400,000. I only work for 5 hours a week.
Wow.
That's my job. So my entire job is to do 3 hours on a Wednesday and 2 hours on a Monday and we finish.
Wow.
You understand? I'm gonna work between May, so I'm gonna work May 12th to June, July, August 28th. I don't go work at all. So I'm really living a vacation, being paid
Wow.
for it. You
Wow.
understand? Now,
Looking
what
for a
did I
mentee,
do?
Damien. If you're looking for a mentee,
Yeah, man, by Zoom. So what me do now, I teach people. That's what I do. I tell people what I know. How much? Why you paying me for that? You know what I mean? But I prepared myself to know, and then I tell people what I know. So
right.
me, I live my life where I can go to a hotel on a Monday. I can go to the beach on a Tuesday. I mean, I'm living a joyful life. Now, me
That,
have other friends that were cool in school and they were nice and enjoying themselves. They were dancing around and partying, and they're going to work 8 hours a day. I work 5 hours for the week. They work 40 hours, and they're not making my salary. You
Wow.
understand? So when you look at the maths of it, you have to just ask yourself, some people will be mixing the cement. That means some people will be building a house. Which one is you? Some
Right.
will be pumping a gas. That means some will be driving a car. Which one is you? You,
De-
you understand? Somebody is begging. That means somebody is giving. The only question in this life is which one is you? Which life do you feel is satisfactory for you? Which one you think you deserve? And I think I deserve the ones that are either building the house, giving the money, or driving the car.
yeah, makes sense. My
Yeah.
next question for you. My next question for you. So we know about Vision 2030, right? Jamaica being the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. How far are we away from achieving that vision? Are we close? And if we're not close, what can we do to align not only ourselves but our society for Vision 2030?
We're about 20, 30 miles away from it. So, I mean, we're
2030.
far away because, you see, the problems of a nation is not easy.
Right,
It's not easy to identify, and by extension, it's not easy to fix.
right,
Jamaicans for a very long time has been trying to fix without identifying the problem, the source of that problem. You understand? So if your room a flood out or your house a flood out, you have to first find out which pipe a leak.
right,
And then, having found the pipe that is leaking now, you have to then identify what is the reason for the leak, whether it crack or the pump up, push it out of the fitting or whatever, and then correct that. It is not easy for a country to identify the problem because the problem is normally a set of interconnected variables. And so you can't really segment it and separate it to say, oh, that is variable one, that is variable two. For example, some children in school not learning. So you say, okay, fix the school. But they may not be learning because them not eat.
definitely.
So you see how it interconnected. So
Right,
therefore, when you see them not learning, your first input in intent is to fix the direct source of learning. But if they're not eating, right, that's a problem. Now, many of our kids have learning difficulties because their mother's nutrition was poor. So they developed that from in the belly. They were
right,
conceived healthy and were born quote unquote unhealthy because they have learning disabilities. You understand?
right,
So all of these things now, culture and norms, them come together. And when they come together, they create this kind of malaise for you not really know how to identify the problem. And that inability to identify the problem make we can't really fix it, you know? And so
yeah, I agree
we're
with
far
you.
away. Yeah. Yeah, so even with all the crime and thing, which I think is our major concern now, right? Cause really, you know, if you're in Jamaica and you don't have a loan, meaning you own a house and you own a car, 300,000 Jamaican can make you live good, you know. That's what a month, 300,000 Jamaican a month. That
Yes.
would be in US dollar divided by 150. So 300, that's like 2,000 US.
Mhm.
2,000, yeah, 2,000 US. So, I mean, if Jamaica, cheaper rent, cheaper food, cheaper drinks, cheaper recreation. But what happened now is that the risk associated to criminal activity now is
Yes.
causing for us not to want to go nowhere, not to want to help nobody. And so when we are trying to figure it out now, we start to fight the criminal and claim we're fighting the crime. But to fight crime is a prevention. If
Mm.
you're really looking at locking up and convicting, you're fighting the criminal because the crime has already been committed.
Right.
You understand? So when we're going on all our, when we say crime fighting plan, it's always directed at a criminal, which means that you're not fighting the crime because the crime has already been committed at that point in time. You understand? When we want this and we want camera, and these are the preventative measures, in my opinion, are like, for example, boarding schools. So we can separate some of these boys from the influence of the communities that are distracting them. You understand? And the rich have been doing it for a very long time. I mean,
Right.
when a child misbehave themselves, we send them to boarding school. You understand? Separate them from that influence, right? So these are things like those things we have not been looking at, making sure the father participates, you
Right.
know, because science tells you, even though internet conversation want to contradict science nowadays, right? And that's one of the unfortunate things of social media. Everybody's an expert, right? And they haven't put in the work to become an expert. So
Right.
so so unfortunately they're perceived an expert without having put in the effort to become an expert. And so we're being misled by it. Now, there's a concept called other efficacy. And other efficacy is how much you believe that the other person can carry out the duty that they are supposed to carry out. So if I go into a class, how much do I believe a teacher can teach me? Do they know? You understand? And
Right.
that helps to make you have confidence in what they do, what they say, and how they go about doing it. Our boys don't learn well from women because they don't perceive that they have other efficacy as it relates to how to be a man, not
Right.
mathematics and English.
Right.
How they're observing men mainly to understand how to be a man, because in their psyche, a man should know how to be a man. That is what other efficacy
Which
is.
makes sense. Which makes
Right, right.
sense. Yes.
Now, in every other aspect of life, we would do that. If I wanted to learn to paint, I don't observe an athlete, I observe an artist. If I wanted to learn to do basketball, I don't observe a soccer poet, I observe Michael Jordan. And you understand. So when a little 4-year old, 5-year old, 11-year old, he's seeking to observe other men. And when the father is absent, he's unfortunately left many times to observe men that don't feel committed to him to teach him correctly.
Right.
And so therefore he learns incorrectly. You understand? And the same would go for a male trying to teach a girl. So
Hmm.
it is not, no, are there outliers? Yes. Are there systems that have worked with single parents? Yes. But it is a disadvantage when a man is not around to, without even directly teaching, from those observation, give knowledge of how to operate as a male. And many of our boys now don't know how to operate as a male.
Yeah, I agree with you because even when I was teaching at your school, Kingston College, and I used to try and motivate my boys to do better, right? The first that there I realize you have on your shiny. Yeah, so when I'm trying to motivate my boys to do better, they look at me and say, Miss, but how do you know you're not making any money?
Yeah,
So
but
they're very practical. They're not. I'm not. I'm sure it's not meant to be disrespectful, but they're
yeah,
very practical. When a girl
no,
will say, "I want to get an A," the boy is looking at the fact that, "Hey, if I get a C, I can still make it into you." They're
yeah,
very
yeah.
practical.
No, but when you look, for example, if a female is saying to you as a child, a boy, don't fight. In
Right.
your mind, you might be saying it's because she's not physically strong enough. You understand? That's why she's saying don't fight. She don't understand that I am strong and I will win. You get me? So when you look at those things, it just feel like yo, them not really understand. And so the lack of males is misguiding many of our boys, you know?
So, another thing is that my a colleague of mine shared a research to say that children who come from nuclear families are more successful. But then
Mm-hmm.
I'm disagreeing a bit because I'm saying what was the context of this research? Because you're
Yeah,
assuming that a nuclear family is always healthy. I have
yeah,
had colleagues that have said to me that I have my father and my mom at home, but my father is an absentee father in the house, but
right.
not
Mm-hmm.
emotionally or otherwise available. So how do we truly say, or how do
Yeah.
we say, beyond a reasonable to say, yes, once you're in a nuclear family, you are poised or aligned for success?
Well, the academic conclusion normally looks at the majority outcome.
Right.
So there will be always outliers within the conclusion. So, for example, if I do a study and I say sugar make drink sweet, it
Right.
is within a margin of error of, let's say, 3 to 5%, meaning
Right.
that there's going to be sometimes where maybe it's bad sugar or whatever, and it just never make the drink sweet. But if a person have two teammates, and I'm using a parent as a teammate,
Right.
they will have a better chance than a person with one teammate.
Right.
You
But what if
understand?
you have one? What if you have two teammates, but one is not pulling their weight? Is it still a
And right,
percentage team?
so then you really have one teammate.
Right.
So you might have two people on the field, but him
Yeah,
not act like a teammate. You understand?
I
So
agree. I agree.
yeah, so I think the real essence is that a person who have two people involved in their success, you get me, is going to
Involved
do better.
word.
Now, if you only have one, you have to just know yourself and what that means.
Right.
You understand? You have to attach yourself to mentors and stuff like that. So when my dad died when I was 15. I went to live with my uncle because I'm the only boy for my mom. So being there with six other women in the house and thing, my mom said, boy, this guy will get misled, you know. And she sent me and I live with my uncle, who's a lawyer. So therefore, I then was influenced by him, knowing, say, okay, my father never did that decision would not have been made.
Right.
So sometimes now, when you see, say, okay, all right, I analyze my life and I say, this is the standard, and I don't have the standard. What do I do to catch up? You understand? It's like you get last button. If you get
Right.
last button in a relay, you're not waving to the crowd. You're running as fast as you can because you get last button. Now the man who get first button might decide to wave to the crowd. That's his business. But you getting last button now, you might associate yourself to a club like cadet or a team like soccer and get that influence where it don't exist with your parent. Like I didn't grow up in a house of business people. My father was just a worker, and he passed on from observation and other things the essence of a worker. Get
Right.
up and go to work and come back and him. All right, now a businessman do have a time. A person who's employed is 9 to 5 or whatever. A businessman is 24 hours. You understand? If something now work 12 o'clock, you have a duty to go and fix it. Now, those
Oh,
mannerisms I didn't get from my father because he didn't have that, right? But then we start associate myself with persons that may be able to assist with those types of mannerisms. You understand?
but I watched an interview that you did. I don't remember exactly when you did it, but you said your dad told you that, well, told the community he was raising
Mhm.
a prime minister.
Yeah,
So
he always
how
said that.
how impactful is your community, whether it be your family, your church? How impactful is the community in you, in individuals finding their identity or finding their vision or purpose, aligning them?
Very, very important because remember that it is difficult to believe in yourself if the opinions of others are contradictory.
Right.
You understand? So, therefore, when you're growing up, that support system that tells you you're great, that tells you you can do it, helps to make you believe.
Mm.
And that is the other part of efficacy, what we call self-efficacy, the belief that I can.
Yes.
So when my community, the church, my parents, my family, my friends, they always have been from a little boy giving me that perception that I can. And so therefore they have contributed greatly into many things that I've tried. Now, 90% of things I've tried have failed,
Right.
but so was 90% of the things that Aristotle tried, 90% of the things that Emmanuel invented, the light bulb. Many of these great inventions was mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? But they were trying something. It starts with trying. And so the belief that I can achieve is the basis of trying. And they have given me that belief.
So I have two more questions before you go, Damien.
Yeah.
Two more questions.
Mhm.
So my next question for you is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I believe in I'm a Christian at heart. Eh? My locks is because my father had locks, and he told me that when we were born, he had to trim to look a job. So I just grew it in honor of him. That may not have to do it at this particular point in time. In those days, you had to do that. I believe that if you have a talent, you have a duty to share that talent. And I have the talent to analyze and communicate. And the politics gives me that ability to a platform to analyze and communicate, because that knowledge is the basis of change. People must feel uncomfortable with the current and move to a improvement, a desire of improvement in the future. So that is what has caused that.
All right, last question. So I know it is important that as family and the society, you're given that foundation from which you grow. But how do you cope when others do not see your vision or your purpose? How do you still press forward when you are not given the affirmations and the vote of confidence?
It's disappointing, and sometimes it reaches to the heights of even being depressing. But my convictions can only be changed if I am convinced that I was wrong in the first place. Not if you agreed in the first place, if
Right.
I was wrong. So if you disagree, you must then convince me that I was incorrect. You understand? Your view of life and many other things can make us disagree. But until I perceive that I was incorrect, my convictions don't change. And so I don't base my success on another person's support. You understand? I have a Jamaica in my mind, and I'm campaigning for that Jamaica, and I continuously campaign for that Jamaica. Some people do it through politics, some people do it through the Kiwanis Club, some people do it through Rotary, some people, like yourself as a teacher, do it through your job.
Yes, definitely.
You understand? And you're committed to that effort. And so I take the disappointment, I take it the disheartened point, but at the same time, maintain my conviction. I question it, and until I'm convinced that I am incorrect, I maintain that conviction.
Thank you so much. Damon, I know you have another engagement. So thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us.
And they have been calling. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Okay, take
And
care.
everybody big up on yourself, right? You can follow me and send me a message, and I will see how I can mentor whoever wants to be mentored. All right?
All right.
Love
Thank
and
you so
honor.
much.
Take care.
Take care. Guys, so we have heard from Damion Crawford. He has given us some very valuable tips as it pertains to aligning not only ourselves but aligning our country for success. You are an extension of the country, or the country is an extension of you. It works both ways. So, for parents, how do you officially align your children for success? You give them words of affirmation instead of telling them, oh, you're just like your father, or saying something negative to your children. You tell them, you are going to be an amazing doctor. You're going to be an amazing lawyer. You're going to be an amazing artist. Whatever your child chooses to do, just motivate your child in that direction. And for those who are still waiting to step into their purpose, remember, your purpose is tied to other people. There are people out there that are waiting on your invention, waiting on your book, waiting on you to teach at their school to step fully into their purpose. That particular student, and I can speak for the educators, who can only learn based on how you deliver content. They are waiting on you to step into their own vision and their own purpose. The country is an extension of you. So, in order for the country to be successful, you too have to be successful. I was listening to a motivational video from Tyler Perry, where he spoke about always helping this blind man to cross the road. The man would always stop and say, "Would someone please help me to cross?" And he was there to help him. Now he is very successful and he continues to help people to cross. Damien is very successful. You've heard it, and he is continuing to give back to his society. He is helping other people to cross. Who will you help to cross? By you helping other people to cross and step into their purpose, you in turn are empowering your society. So thank you everyone for joining, and thank you for your continued support. I'm encouraging you to share this video with someone who will benefit greatly. Thank you. I'm so humbled. Ensure that you not only like, but you subscribe to my channel. Coming next week, we are interviewing a visually impaired law student who is poised for greatness. We aim to give you tools to navigate life. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.